We have code written in Java and is defined as a Spring Boot controller that handles requests related to GypCells. Basic GypCells controller Java is a block of code that implements the GypCells controller interface. Address controller annotation indicates that this class is a controller that will handle incoming HTTP requests. The add request mapping annotation specifies the base URI for all requests handled by this controller. The class has an instance variable of type GypCells service, which is auto-wired by Spring. The fetch gypslist method indicates or handles get request to the base URI and takes two optional parameters, model and trim. This method returns a list of gyp objects returned from the fetch gyps method of the GypCell service instance variable. The add response status annotation specifies that this method should return an HTTP status code to 100 or OK. The second block of code is the interface. In this interface, we specify the URI and the require and optional parameters for the GET request. It also uses Swagger annotations to provide metadata and documentation for the API. The last block of code is the log Java. In here we have empty stubs for the debug and info methods. Now inside entity, we have Gyp Java and Gyp Model Java. Gyp Java is a block defining a Java class called Gyp that has 6 properties and is annotated with the add data, that add builder and add no args constructor and add all args constructor. Add data is a Lombok annotation that generates getter and setters methods for all fields to string method and equals and hash method. Add builder is a Lombok annotation that generates a builder pattern implementation for the class. Add no args constructor is a Lombok annotation that generates a no args constructor for the class. Add all args constructor is a Lombok annotation that generates a constructor that takes all arguments. The Gyp Model Java is a code block that is defining a Java enum called Gyp model that has 7 constants here in blue. An enum is a special type of class that represents a group of constants. In this case, the Gyp model enum represents the different models of Gyp vehicles that can be sold. Each of the constants in the enum represents a specific model, and this comes from a database we have in SQL. Now we're going into the main method and opening the service package. And here we have the default service class and the interface. The interface defines the one method fetch gyps that takes in 2 string parameters, model and trim, and returns a list of gyp objects. The default GypCell service class implements the GypCell service interface and provides an implementation for the fetch gyps method. The implementation simply logs a message using the log variable defined with the @slf for J annotation, indicating that the method was called with specified parameters and then returns null. The add service annotation here indicates that this class is a Spring service component which can be injected into the other components as a dependency. Then we have the Gyp, if I find it, in the main method. Here in GypCells Java, we are defining the main class for a Spring Boot application called GypCells. At Spring Boot application is an annotation that is used to enable a variety of Spring Boot features, including component scanning, auto configuration, and property support. The scan-based package classes attribute specifies the marker interface component scan marker, which is used to indicate the base package for component scanning. The main method is the entry point for the application. It uses Spring application.run method to start the application. This method takes 2 arguments, the main class and the command line arguments. It sets up the Spring application context, starts the embedded web server, and runs the application. And then we have the marker. Here, the scan marker. And here, the component scan marker interface is an empty marker interface in this COM Promineo tech package, and it serves as a marker for Spring Boot to scan for components such as controllers, services, repositories, starting at the base package. This approach is useful when you want to separate your component classes from your main application class. By adding the add Spring Boot application annotation, the main class, and specifying the component scan marker interface as the base package for component scanning, Spring Boot will automatically scan all the components within the specified package, and it's to be auto-wire and used within the application. I'm going to run now this project as a JUnit test, and so far it's looking good. So I have to continue adding to this project, but this is what was needed for this assignment.